few cocktails on Thursday.
Yeah, that was it.
That's what it is. And I had to go over my line 8.5, no, more than 9 days. And it was,
We used to play softball in the military, and they would put a cooler on each face. And you hit the ball,
that's
you
the
had-
best way to play.
You had to stop and drink a beer on each base as you advanced. People started striking out about 6 minutes just so they didn't have to.
I probably see why. Where's home plate? Who wants to go home? I want to stand third.
Drop guy wasn't quite as bad.
Sure. Let me summarize, if I may, where we are with the search. As you know, 2 of the candidates withdrew, and we can talk about that if you want to. I guess my sense is that neither one of them really accepted in what I would call good faith. There were some fairly significant problems communicating with both of them. And I don't think any contract terms had anything to do with it. In fact, we never got the final contract terms with either one. We had some preliminary conversations, but never got down to a real discussion on what's it going to take or what's going to be a deal breaker. We never had those conversations because we just never got that far. There were a couple of other candidates that Kathy had originally screened, and you looked at their resumes for possible interviews, and I don't know if I can. Says it's on. And for whatever reasons, already took a job or moved to some other state, they're not interested any longer in pursuing the manistee position. So right now, today, that leaves us with Wolf and Graff, who also interviewed a couple of weeks ago. But this afternoon, Kathy also forwarded to me the resumes of 4 additional candidates who, according to her notes, could have been screened and could not have been. They were right on the cusp, if you will. And I have their resumes, and if we want to look at them in a minute, we can do that in closed session, because until they accept an interview, the resumes are confidential. So I guess if there's any questions on where we are or what happened in the process so far, I'd be happy to respond to those inquiries as best I can. If not, I'd suggest that we go into closed session under MCL 15.268, which is permitted to review resumes until an interview is accepted. So, questions on where we are or what happened with the first 2?
I have a quick question. It's probably going to be just null and void, but did any of the candidates that we were looking to select offer any constructive feedback on any indication of reason why they may not have been interested or withdrawn? I'm just trying to be smart with the next step we take and not make the same mistakes. So, or did they offer Kathy anything, any good feedback that?
The first candidate, Jordan, I think you're aware, interviewed here, tentatively accepted, then didn't tentatively accept, then interviewed in Wexford, then did tentatively accept, then we started to have contract discussions, and then he decided to withdraw here and accept in Wexford. That's the short version of what happened. With the second candidate, Bookout, my impression from the first conversation I had after the offer was made was that he was pretty lukewarm on his acceptance. that there wasn't any wholehearted desire to come to Manistee. And I guess I would say that I had a very difficult time communicating with him. It would go days and even weeks without him responding to telephone calls and emails. And in fact, on the day that he finally withdrew, if memory serves me, it was a Monday afternoon, maybe a Tuesday afternoon. That very morning, I had emailed Kathy and said, we're going to have to move on because he's just not responding to any inquiries, which leads me to believe that he wasn't serious about his initial acceptance. Others speculate on other reasons, but I don't see that.
Yeah, speculations went on. And they said, hey, it was the salary, or it was, the, age, infrastructure, it was limited budget, it was a, council issue. Nice to know what we're.
None of those conversations reached that critical decision point.
Okay.
Even with the first two, we never really had a tentative agreement. Several council members had feedback on the draft contracts,
Yeah.
but I never took that back to the applicant
So we never had a
because
chance to even
we
discuss it.
didn't get there.
Okay.
So it wasn't anything like that. If one of the options under consideration is to re-advertise, and Kathy Renzinger's strong opinion is that we need to change the ad in some way, perhaps on the benefits, perhaps on the wages, just to make it somewhat different than it was the first time. But we don't really need to consider re-advertising until you've had a chance to look at the additional resumes and then have some additional discussion on both draft and board. So, other questions?
I guess I'd like resumes.
Yeah.
Then a motion to go
I'll
on
make a
close.
motion.
It should be somebody that's on the actual personnel.
Oh, okay.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So much for that. Huh?
Yeah. Did find out a little bit more about it though.
I'm sorry.
I said I'm glad Ben elaborated a bit how some of the
Yeah, the
things because
concerns that were brought up. Yeah.
or miscommunication or whatever because
Well, I think they should have offered to that guy from Florida to begin with. So tomorrow's the testing for the new position, and they got this many applicants. They got this many applicants for the new position. Clerk. Clerk,
the city clerk.
yeah.
What
Well,
happened?
not the city clerk, but that new position that they're creating within the finance.
Oh,
Did you get away for the weekend?
a little bit. I
Yeah.
went to Traverse City for a little bit. I had family there, so.
What does the applicant do in case there is a big story? They have a standby person on?
Yeah, we have a weekend reporter.
How does anybody get a hold of them?
Email.
Emails?
Usually, well, and our cell phone, like on weekends, we don't list our cell phone numbers
Yeah.
on the website.
But they're not on your web.
Huh?
They're not on your website.
Cell phones?
Yeah,
No, of course not.
no.
Uh,
So,
Yeah, I don't-
I tried to get a hold of Michelle, I tried Ken Grabowski, I tried yourself.
I didn't see anything from you.
Well, when you
Was it
didn't
email
answer,
or a from the office? You probably called the office phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody was there.
nobody was there.
What day
So,
was it? Saturday?
yeah,
Yeah, no one was there.
no. So, if there's anything happening, nobody's there to cover it.
No, if
The police were out there.
If an email is sent, we have a weekend reporter who gets it. We all get it. If you send it to advocate@gmail,
Oh, do you really?
or advocate@pioneergroup.com,
Oh,
we all get that. So.
oh, do you?
Yeah. So.
But, you know, if you're up there in northern Michigan, you're not gonna be reading email.
It's not necessarily true.
It doesn't come over your cell phone, does it?
Yeah,
Oh, does
it
it?
does.
But the common layperson doesn't know about that though.
Yeah,
And you don't, the police have no reason to call, right?
like in what regard? What do you mean?
Well, supposing there was an emergency that came up.
Well, like for instance, that home invasion information that we got,
Yeah,
chief emailed that out on Saturday. We all got that, and it was on our website.
who emailed it?
The chief.
Oh, did he?
Bachman, he emailed it not just to us, all sorts of the local news organizations. And
Oh, okay.
But as far as contacting, you know,
I mean, say both bridges got up at the same time and neither one of them could come down.
well, I think we'd find out about it somehow. I think we'd notice it,
Yep.
or,
So there's no emergency notification system built in to the newspaper?
I mean, on like an emergency, like overnight or weekends kind of thing?
Yeah.
Not necessarily, I don't believe so. I mean,
Of course, when would it come out? It wouldn't come out till Monday morning anyway.
probably would have come out
Yeah.
Sunday anyway.
Yeah. So I
Like
guess,
for instance, on Saturday, a couple of weeks ago, I got an email, a text message from the Manistee County Alert System
Uh-huh.
saying there was, be on the lookout for this missing person. And, I asked my boss if we should do something about it, and she said, well, keep an eye. The girl was found like within 4 hours.
Yeah.
So like, in an instance like that, we're not going to publish it in the newspaper because
No.
by then the person's found. There's no really anything to report on.
Yeah.
If the person was still missing, sure it would be. But I mean, as far as like general like notification like that,
yeah.
I guess I've thought about that, but I don't know if, like for instance, like you're saying, like someone calling us and saying, hey, I found out about X, Y, and Z on a Saturday or Sunday or something. Well, I don't, it's not really I don't know. I don't really know what to say.
Yeah. Well,
I do think there should be some kind of,
like when that guy jumped off the ship out there,
yeah,
he jumped off Sunday morning at 1:30. It was on the Ludington News website
yeah,
that morning.
yeah.
But, News Advocate doesn't put anything on till Monday.
Yeah. Well,
And, people were
we,
immediately started looking along the shore and
uh,
and things like that. And, that's a small incident.
I get that, and
But I guess this isn't the community that really needs to have it. But
I don't know about that.
I think they do, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I think they deserve information, sure, but and I've faced with that question online a lot. People
Yeah.
wonder why it's not out sooner or.
Well, the reason I asked too is because I was the Emergency Operations Center boss for the Air Force.
Oh, okay,
And so I've utilized that all my career.
yeah. I can't say I disagree with that. It's the thing is on a weekend we come in on Sundays and get all our work done.
Sure.
If something happens on Saturday, usually we found out about whatever it may be, either through the police department or the sheriff's office, but like you're saying, if a civilian, if a random person calls and says, hey, I found out about this, we do get our voicemails on our phones, at least I do.
Oh,
I
do you?
have it sent to my phone where all my emails get sent to my phone and we get voicemails on our cell phones.
Oh, do you?
So I get the voicemails through that, I get it that way.
Oh.
So it's not like I'm,
Even the voicemails that come into the office?
yeah.
Okay.
They're connected from our office phones.
So you,
Voicemails go to our
okay, so you
email.
forward that?
Yeah, it gets forwarded to our cell phones.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I think it might even be advisable for, to put a comment on the editorial page that the News Advocate does monitor news 24/7.
We try.
Because, huh?
I said we try.
Well,
There's only 4.
whether you try or, I mean, if they're forwarded to you,
Yeah.
you're gonna hear the phone ring.
Yeah,
So it would not be lying or even holding back to say that you're not monitoring,
yeah,
because you are.
yeah,
And that, I think it would be, it's still up to you to filter what's pertinent
yeah,
and not pertinent.
sure.
But I think it would be a good way to let the people know that they can contact you if needed. And there's no school Monday morning because the road, blew
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
And what was it? They had it wasn't a power outage. I forget what happened in the city. Well, they said, well, we put it on the,
there was I remember back in I don't know about recently, but back in the spring there was a power outage. It was Saturday, there was a Sunday night, I think. That raccoon that caused that power outage,
Oh,
remember?
yeah.
But, and that I followed up on, and the thing is, I'll be honest with you, there are some things at our newspaper that, I'm still learning about because I've never really covered
Sure.
city government as much as I have been doing, and it's a little, or city's involvement or anything related to this kind of work, because this wasn't my forte out of college at all.
I'm sorry, Eric?
I made a motion to come back.
Second.
Okay. Then, continuing the discussion on the city manager search, the MML will follow up with Mr. Heiss to make sure that he has in fact negotiated a contract and/or if he's still available. And she will also contact candidates number 19 and 32 to determine whether they have a continuing interest in the position. And beyond that, it's open for additional discussion.
I would like to see if Dave Bachman is interested in the position.
I can make that inquiry and get back to you.
I'd like to also make a recommendation that the MML reopen a search for additional candidates. We're 0 for 2 so far, and maybe 0 for 3 or 0 for 4, so I'd definitely like to see additional candidates if they're available.
And if we do that, are there modifications to the pay and benefit package that we would make in that re-advertisement based on the MML's recommendations? And let me back up on that for a minute. On a couple of the earlier drafts that never went anyplace, several council members made comments to me regarding several of the provisions of the contract. And let me say that if we're not willing to pay $100,000, we shouldn't advertise at $100,000. Car allowance is a pretty standard benefit, whether you get a car or an allowance, but that's pretty standard. You're gonna find any city manager is gonna expect that. On the vacation schedule, we often plug people in on our schedule that the union contracts have based on their years of experience. So if somebody's got 20 years of experience, they would typically, for an administrative position, get plugged in at the 20-year level, which happens to be 4 weeks. If somebody has 25 years, we would typically plug them in at 25 years, and that's 5 weeks. So that's the way we would treat other administrative personnel. I would presume that we'd be willing to treat the city manager the same way. If the clerk gets that benefit, I would certainly presume the city manager would take that. But on the wages, if you're not willing to pay 100, we shouldn't advertise 100.
Because there's been a comparable done to do similar sized cities and wages.
In the hundreds, 85 to 100s in the right ballpark. Kathy suggested to me on the phone that if we wanted to modify it, maybe it's 85 to 105, but she suggested moving it up, if anything, not moving it down. But again, there's no point in advertising at the 105 if we're not going to be willing to pay the 105. I mean, we got to advertise at what we're willing to pay. And if the cap is 95, then we got to say that. Or else we're somewhat misleading potential candidates.
In my opinion, you often pay for what you get, and I have no problem with being at a higher end if we're getting that kind of quality candidate. And if at the end of the day, we've spent how much time, money, effort, and personnel hours on trying to fill this position, and if it was a difference between $5,000 or $6,000 or even $10,000, we've well spent that on time, effort, resources, and manpower. I don't like chasing a dollar and stepping over a dime. I mean, I'd rather make smart decisions on getting, this is just my opinion, on a solid candidate, and let that range help us filter out, with the years of experience, just like we do with years of experience equating to years or weeks of vacation. I think we should do a very similar effort with regards to wages. And if it's 102 or it's 97, those are pretty small figures to be worried about on a direct salary, in my opinion. That's my 2 cents.
Others?
I think, when we look at auxiliary terms of an agreement, and we're looking at vacation time coming in, or the car allowance, for example. A car allowance and then additional expenses within the state for outside of 50 miles is kind of frivolous. I just assume if you're talking a $400 a month car allowance, pay a person another $5,000 a year in lieu of a car allowance, because you're essentially doing the same thing. I think, a vehicle can be leased in the road, you've got insurance and you've got maintenance and other aspects to it. But in some instances, a vehicle could be leased for a city manager more economically, and then you're not worried about 50 miles outside the city limits. Going to an MML up in Traverse City exceeds that. I just see some of those issues that we need to standardize on. I think the thing that concerns me most is offering someone a 6-month severance walking through the door. I think that's something that you earn with performance and get based on that, and it's sort of incremental as opposed to something like that up front. I hate the thought of making it so expensive to remove a person that you're really not happy with, that you don't remove them because of the expense involved. And I understand what we've had conversations before about, okay, that's kind of a person's insurance, in case they're let go, it is at-will employment. But we need to look at what the cost is to the city, and what benefit the individual, when you're looking to bring someone in and show some confidence in having them here. But But on the other hand of things, we're willing to bear the relocation experience for the candidate that we're bringing in a shorter severance term to start with, and then adding that based on years of service would seem prudent move on my part.
Let me be clear that none of this discussion had anything to do with the two earlier candidates. This is a prospective discussion.
I'm just indicating things
clear
that
picture.
in the tentative, mix of things that caught my attention.
But that's
and I
likely to be a
expressed
deal
concern
breaker,
about.
just so you know. That's likely to be a deal breaker.
But I'm along with Eric. I'm not opposed to, I mean, if you've got the right candidate and they're coming from a position and it takes more money to pay them, that's not an issue with me. If we want to make it, 85 to 105, that's not an issue. I just saw things in the tentative agreement. I think when you talk about pay raises and added vacation and stuff like that, that's something that's handled by council when they do an annual review on the individual. And I was surprised to see language in there that was going to increase things. Because typically when we go back and look at budget documents, if the city manager got a raise, it was the same typical raise percentage of income that other members of the city.
And let me tell you why it was structured that way. And that's because they all wanted to start at the top. And I thought there would be pushback on that. So I suggested that they step up to the top after they had a 1-year performance evaluation approval. So that was my idea, not theirs. Their idea was, I want to start at the 100. And so I did push back a little bit on that, and that's why that showed up that way. But if the alternative is to say, okay, start at 100, then I suspect that would not be an issue.
And just a little bit different perspective on the severance, I understand that this is a challenging role, and I do think that part of, in my perspective, part of that desire to have some type of severance built in is to have some checks and balances for this body as well. There are situations where people get into, and we've seen that from resumes, that there's not a good match. It seemed on the front end there was, but there wasn't a good match after they started, and they're out of a job then in 4 months or 6 months, and there needs to be some checks and balances, I think, on this side as well, to say, hey, we've got to make sure we do our due diligence to create that synergy between the council and the manager and give direction, and not just arbitrarily play in the merry-go-round and put another person on that spin. So I think I see some merit behind it, but I also agree completely in the sense that maybe that should be graduated up and not necessarily guaranteed right on the front end. But again, I don't want those to be deal breakers really either, because we're struggling right now, and our window of having an interim manager be successful for us and having a new one start is shrinking every day. And I don't want that to be operating from weakness either, but I do think we need to take into consideration that some of those pieces are important.
The other thing you want to keep in mind is you want the manager to be able to tell you that he thinks that's a really bad idea without fear of getting the axe. I mean, you want honest opinions from him that aren't constrained by today's my last day in the office. So that severance provides some of that assurance that I can provide an honest opinion to you, and if you don't like it and fire me, at least I got 6 months.
And that's kind of the checks and balances that we're talking about. We need to be held accountable too to the relationship we have with the new city manager, and that is part of it. So
Yes,
our
it is.
decisions are important because they're going to have a 6-month pay bang for us.
And it costs you to make a precipitous decision.
Yes.
And that's
Probably
standard.
should.
And if it's the standard, and we're looking for quality, you're only going to get quality candidates if you offer at least a standard procedure.
And with the next applicant, I can have that conversation about, moving it up, but just be aware that some aren't going to be willing to accept it. So And we don't need to decide that today, there's no pending contract,
Sure.
but I think the discussion's helpful to me.
The other option too that we haven't discussed yet is we had two candidates that we interviewed. Is there any interest in talking either one of them again? I like Mr. Wolf. I wouldn't mind talking to him again.
Which,
Mr. Wolf.
He was the first candidate we interviewed, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
from Lake Isabella.
Yes. That was a candidate I thought was pretty strong, but, out of the other two, that he would be one I would make consideration for again as well. Not necessarily maybe the full-fledged interview, but maybe some variation of that, whatever we decide. If we feel he's another candidate that we want to consider.
Others?
I think Mr. Wolf is probably the stronger of the two.
Yeah.
And certainly worth some additional conversation. I really like his background. And the way he interacted during the interview process. When he interacted with people that he interviewed, he was outgoing, he was personal.
I think he got to the point during his interview, he didn't dance around any questions or go on and on and on. He was right there. Hopefully everybody saw it.
Is that a consensus?
Do you guys want to talk to him in a different format? At least, are you interested in bringing him in to talk
Well,
to him?
I
Maybe he's interested.
I would suggest that the format depends a little bit on what happens to 19 and 32. If we've got a structured interview for them, and they're both willing to come, then that kind of mitigates in favor of another structured interview for Wolf. But if one or both of those don't come, then we've got more flexibility on the format, so I would defer that conversation if
Okay.
you don't mind.
No, that's
So we're just going to see if he's interested,
Yes.
To come in for another.
redevelop that
Yes.
interest in him.
Are you guys
If there's agreement on that.
We gotta do something. I'm not opposing anything. I'm not opposed to talking.
So I would have Kathy, we see if he would be interested in coming in for another
Okay.
interview.
I think from a sequential standpoint, Ben, I think our first option is to just get the feelers out to Mr. Heiss. Because if he is available and considering the job, it's a hire. We don't have to go back to the interview process, don't we? I mean, but
Nobody has said that yet.
no, I know, but that was our third top candidate. I would assume we'd follow the same progression we did before, but maybe not. Or if maybe he's in a
Is that a
certain.
consensus or not?
If he's available, and still interested.
I would bring him in for a second interview as well.
I wouldn't, I'd just make him an offer.
I don't hear a majority either.
I think we, if Mr. Heiss is available and interested, that we make that primary offer.
It's probably the right choice, even though I don't like it, because you don't want him hanging on. If he's got other stuff out there, he's gonna be pushed away again, if that's what the direction we're gonna do. So if he is available, I say proceed with making him an offer.
That's my concern too, because if we say we're gonna bring him back for another
He's out fishing.
round of interviews,
Yeah.
and he's got an offer, why
Yeah.
would we bring back for that? I think his level of acceptance would be less.
Yep.
That's my opinion.
Yep. Why come back? I've been here once.
It's not my preferred choice, but I also think it's very important that we present a united department council. If that is truly what council would like to do, I would support that decision.
So let me walk the town through it and make sure I've got it right. If Heiss is available, make him an offer. Contact 19 and 32 to see if they're interested in interviews. Also contact Mr. Bachman. I would suggest contacting Wolf and then waiting until we have that information back before we re-advertise.
I agree.
Because that's already 1, 2, 3, 4 different options in front of re-advertise.
So we're gonna offer Mr. Wolf a contract or a deal, and We need to know what he's gonna do first before we even move in.
No, Mr. Heiss is the one that.
Mr. Heiss.
Right. Wolf would be a second interview format to be determined.
Correct. Yes.
Are we good on that?
I believe so.
We gotta do something. Let's do it.
Then, one other item on the agenda.
Interim city manager contract is coming to an end this month. Graciously, Mr. Bypass has offered to stay on, but in a little bit less request.
To summarize, I would convert the current annual salary to an hourly rate, work hourly 3-4 days a week, prorate vacation to an hourly basis based on a 5-week annualized schedule, but back that off to a per hour rate. The pension provisions currently says it will be paid based on the annual salary, so just say based on the per hour rate. And then I would stay on 3 or 4 days a week until we get this thing done. Not until we get this thing done. We do have vacation plans for late September, October. I'd like 2 to 3 weeks unpaid vacation for those 2 to 3 weeks, and then no other real travel plans until March, and hopefully, except for a week around Christmas, but everybody's going to have a week around Christmas. And then I'd be good on that kind of hourly rate until late February, March, if that's all right. That would take formal action, and if nobody objects, I'll put it on the agenda for Tuesday.
Okay, and that's that, we're going to formalize exactly the language you're talking about. I appreciate your willingness to, and your wife's willingness to allow you to be on board. I know.
Surprising he didn't ask for flowers and leave real quick.
Yeah, and please do pass on our sincere, appreciation to your wife and the impact it's had on your family. So I appreciate your efforts, and thankfully you're willing to extend that beyond. I thought we were going to have somebody enrolled, but roll the dice.
Any object? Do you have any objections?
I have no objections. I think Mr. Bypass what you've done, although I think your wife will go on vacation when we go.
That worries me too. Other? You know how I feel. Yeah.
Is there any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.